What's up, y'all? It's your boy Ace. We're back again after a little bit of a hiatus. First and foremost, bear with me. I have been a little sick, plus my allergies are kicking in, so if I sound a little nasally, I do apologize. But I did want to get this video out before the draft comes this Thursday. This is going to be the second part of the free agency rapid reactions. We got a lot to talk about. I did already try to record this once, and it was 45 minutes, so I'm going to try to be a little more timely with it. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. I want to bang this out. We got a lot to talk about. I hope y'all enjoy. So let's kick this off with the stuff with the teams that we talked about in the last video, the stuff we weren't able to get to. So first, let's talk about the Panthers. Sam Darnold traded over the Panthers for a plethora of picks. You like that with all the P's there. But Sam Darnold's over there. I like this, man. I like this for Darnold. I think if he's going to have a chance to revitalize his career, it's here. I mean, getting out of the grasp of Adam Gase is always a great thing for any player. So I like this for Sam Darnold. I like this for DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson as well. I really hope that he succeeds. I like Sam Darnold, and I like him especially because I do have him on my dynasty team as well. But let's go ahead and move on to the Cardinals and James Conner. This is an odd move. I kind of expected them to do something. Not an odd move, but I didn't see Chase Edmonds as a 3-down back. I don't think they see him that way either. The coaches will say what the coaches will say, but I more see Chase Edmonds as like a change of pace type of guy, a passing downs guy. They seem very reluctant to use him on the goal line. So I could see James Conner being like a discount Kenyon Drake from last year, where he gets the majority of the running back goal line work at least, because as we know, Kyler Murray's probably going to handle a good deal of that as well, and some early down work as well. So I think he's a decent late round pick. We'll see where his ADP ends up landing closer to the actual season, and we'll see what happens in the draft. They could still draft a running back too. But from the Cardinals, let's move on to the Falcons, and they signed Corduro Patterson. And this is whatever. I mean, Mike Davis, to me, as of right now, is still going to be the lead back, I would assume. It's him and Cordero. I think they signed him as a running back, but with him, he's a return guy, he's a running back, he's a wide receiver, so I'm sure we'll see him lining up everywhere. Could have some appeal in deeper leagues, but as of right now, Mike Davis is still the guy there for me until we see what happens with the draft. I could still see the Falcons drafting a running back round 2, round 3. We'll see what happens there, but after that, we got the Colts. We got Zach Pascal re-signed. I don't know where he slots in here, really. I mean, to me, with Carson Wentz there, that is, you'd hope it'd be an upgrade over Phillip Rivers. Back with Frank Reich. But at this point, T.Y. Hilton's back too. I would assume they want to get Paris Campbell involved. Michael Pittman did show some flashes last year. I'm looking at Pittman as kind of the top guy there. And then Paris Campbell will probably be the slot guy, T.Y. Hilton out wide on the other side. So I don't know if Zach Pascal will really have a role, but he's never really got a fair shake either. So we'll see what happens with Zach Pascal. Maybe he gets a little shot this year, but as of right now, I'm not really considering him in any draft so far. But and then we got the Broncos signed Mike Boone, and I think this is a sleeper here. Melvin Gordon obviously is the main guy there. Philip Lindsay's gone, but I could see Mike Boone, carving out a little workload for himself. He's a good player, man. He's just been buried on that Vikings depth chart behind Dalvin Cook and behind Alexander Madison. But now he's the number 2 guy. I wouldn't expect to see them invest in any heavy capital into a running back in the draft, the Broncos that is, but if they did, that will change things. But for now, this is a guy that if you play in dynasty leagues, he's out on the waiver wires, go grab him, take a shot on him, whatever. If he ends up being the only other running back there with Melvin Gordon, also a guy that I don't hate taking a shot on in deeper leagues late in the drafts as well. But now that we got all those guys out of the way, all the cats from the teams that we discussed in the last episode, let's move on to the fresh new stuff, the stuff we haven't talked about, and we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into that as well. All right, so we're going to kick it off with the Raiders, and the first move was John Brown. John Brown coming in to replace Nelson Agholor, assumingly. This is cool, I guess. I mean, Nelson Agholor didn't see heavy volume last year. He was productive with what he had. I think he had right around 50 catches, but he had like 900 yards and a little over a handful of touchdowns. So I do see John Brown coming in and competing with Henry Ruggs to be the number 1 receiver. Last year, Ruggs was very disappointing. I do also see them getting Bryan Edwards more involved. Darren Waller will be the number one option in the passing game, I would assume. But John Brown is a good player, man. And if Henry Ruggs doesn't step up, I could see John Brown taking over as the number one receiver here. And hey, man, with where he's going in drafts right now, if he gets 120, 125, 130 targets, he's going to be a valuable late-round guy. So I like this move. I like this for the Raiders. Give Derek Carr another weapon, open up the field a little bit for Darren Waller and for the run game. And nice segue with the run game. Let's talk about Kenyon Drake. This was a fantasy killer for Josh Jacobs and for Kenyon Drake. Apparently, John Gruden really likes... it's John Gruden, right? Not Jay Gruden? Yeah, John Gruden likes Kenyon Drake a lot. And they paid him more than anyone else was going to pay him. And he sees him... A lot of coaches say this. He's going to line up in the slot. He's going to do this. He's going to move around the field a lot. We'll see what happens there. But I do see this cutting into Josh Jacobs' workload pretty significantly. I mean, I would assume Kenyon Drake is going to handle the majority of the passing down work. Prior to last season, that's what he was really... pretty much best at in Miami and with the Cardinals, not last year, but the year before when he got traded over there. He is a good receiving back. The Cardinals didn't really use him like that last year, but I expect that's what the Raiders are going to do with him. And I also do see him cutting in to some of the early down work as well, maybe a little goal line work too. I expect Josh Jacobs to handle the majority of the goal line work. But Kenyon Drake's an exceptional backup running back, if that's what we want to call him here. I think this is going to be kind of a committee. I'm kind of avoiding both. Actually, at their prices right now, I like Kenyon Drake a little more, a little later on, but this one kind of hurts for Josh Jacobs, and it's really not great for Drake either. But then I don't know even why I wrote this down, but they signed Willie Snead too. I mean, he's more just like a depth piece, I guess. Probably coming in to compete with Ruggs, John Brown, Bryan Edwards. I don't really see him being much of a factor, especially not for fantasy football. But from the Raiders, let's move on to the Chargers. And the Chargers signed Jared Cook. And I like this, man. I think Jared Cook's a really good late-round tight end candidate, at least to stream if he's got a good matchup week one. I mean, we've seen what Jared Cook can do with limited opportunity with the Saints in the past. You know, he's a red zone threat. He's a very efficient tight end. I like this move for the Chargers as a football team. I don't think Jared Cook's going to come in and be a world-beaten tight end, but I do think in good matchups and choice matchups, he's a good streaming candidate. And depending on what his week one matchup is, if you're looking at a late round tight end strategy, you go out, grab Jared Cook, slap him in there, hope he scores a touchdown. He's never going to be a big volume PPR guy, but, you know, he'll get you a couple receptions, 40, 50 yards, maybe a touchdown. So not a bad late round tight end pick there. But let's move on from the Chargers. Let's talk about the Rams. And obviously we talked about in the last one with the Lions, the Stafford and Jared Goff trade. So Matt Stafford's there. This is excellent for everyone involved. I love this for Matt Stafford. Gives him a chance to be on a team with a good coach, with a really good receiving core, with a good young running back, a solid defense, you know, to really thrive. I do love this for Stafford. I'm really, really hyped for Robert Woods with this. And Robert Woods, just like every other year, is going to be criminally underdrafted. He's going to be an absolute value. I love this for him. Last year, Robert Woods kind of broke his mold of not being a touchdown guy. He wasn't great, but 2 years ago, he only scored 2 touchdowns. So I expect him to kind of keep pace with what he did last year, still be a great PPR guy. And I think he's really like a high-end wide receiver, too, that will get drafted as a back-end wide receiver, too, in the 4th, 5th round. So I love this for Woods. I also like this for Cooper Kupp. I think, I'm kind of neutral on Cooper Kupp, to be honest, because obviously Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp had a really good relationship. Apparently they were like best friends off the field. So I don't know who Stafford will gravitate towards early. I'm assuming it's Woods because he's getting kind of adjusted to the offense. Robert Woods is kind of that glue piece in that offense who's running over the middle, who's always getting himself open. So Stafford will kind of gravitate towards him, getting used to it. But I do think Stafford's an upgrade over Jared Goff, so it should theoretically be better for Cooper Kupp. But based on his relationship with Jared Goff, it might not be. But still, the way I'm looking at it right now, just the overall upgrade, it's good for Kupp. It's great for Robert Woods, though. But also, they did sign Desean Jackson. How many games Desean Jackson will play, nobody knows. Probably less than 5. But when he is out there, this is also a great weapon for Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is one of my favorite right now late-round quarterbacks, right, to be honest with you. Outside of Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts is kind of that Konami code type of cat that he's going to run the ball, he's going to throw the ball, obviously. But outside of those guys that I really like that are, the Konami code quarterbacks, Matt Stafford's pretty much my favorite, him and probably Brady. So if you're not drafting a quarterback early, you're waiting until the later round, Stafford will probably be there for you. I like that. And for Desean Jackson, in the games he does play, I don't think he's going to really have a fantasy impact, but it should help Matt Stafford and open up the field for everybody else. But after the Rams, we'll move on to my Miami Dolphins, and we signed Will Fuller. And at first, I was like kind of hyped. I was like, oh, word, Will Fuller. He's really good. I mean, last year he was great in the games he played. But with that being said, Will Fuller was really good last year. He's always been really good, but he was healthy last year. And last year, he just so happened to be on PEDs, and I don't know much about performance-enhancing drugs, and I don't know exactly what he was on or how it affected him. But he had a really good year. He was healthy, but in the past, before that, in the sample outside of just last year where he was on those PEDs, he's never been able to stay healthy. So that kind of scares me. I mean, it's a short-term deal. I think it's only a 1-year deal, so it's kind of a prove-it thing anyway. So if it doesn't work out, we can just part ways with him. But, I mean, if Will Fuller's healthy and he's even 90% of what he was last year, this is a great move for the Dolphins. I'm not sure how well he'll mesh with Tua. I mean, Will Fuller's always been kind of looked at as a deep threat type of guy, but he's more than that. He really is. He proved that last year. He can kind of play all over the field. So I think I like this move for the Dolphins if Will Fuller's healthy. But after the Dolphins, we have the Vikings, who didn't really do anything. And then we got the Patriots. Man, this is a lot to talk about, so I won't speak too much on any of these cats. But we got, obviously, Cam Newton re-signed. I mean, I will get to this, but some of the moves that Belichick made me think that they do want to ride it out with Cam. He really wants to make Cam make Cam work, because a lot of the moves that he made kind of fit what Cam's good at. I wouldn't rule out them drafting a quarterback if one falls to them, or even trading up to get a quarterback. We will find out Thursday. But, I mean, Cam's one of those guys that, I mean, as of last year, really not fantasy relevant unless he steps up in the passing game. Obviously, he's going to run the ball. And if he can even throw for 20, 25 touchdowns, he will have value in fantasy. It's all going to depend on if he can step up from what he did last year. But then we had Jonnu Smith, who at first, when they signed him, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm a big Jonnu Smith guy. I love Jonnu Smith. I thought this was a great move for him. He would be the number one option, and even in a low passing volume offense, he's been the type of guy that's shown he's a red zone threat, limited opportunities. Last season, he had multiple 2-touchdown games. He's a great possession guy. He can make plays after the catch. So I like this for Jonnu. I thought, number one option, and then the next day they go out and they sign Hunter Henry, and I'm like, what are you doing? But it kind of made sense, because if you want to make Cam Newton work, having 2 really good tight ends, that will help, because Cam's not the type of cat at this point in his career that's going to be chucking the ball 20, 30 yards down the field all the time. He's going to need guys in those short area targets, and having 2 tight ends like Jonnu and Hunter Henry will allow him to do that. And then it will also help with the running game, being able to run those 2 tight end sets and not knowing what you're going to do all the time, whether they're going to run, whether they're going to pass. So, I mean, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, I'm not really looking at them unless you're in a really deep league. I think they're going to kind of cannibalize each other for fantasy, but it should help Cam for actual football, and maybe make Cam a viable option in 2 quarterback superflex leagues. But other than that, they signed Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar for like $40 million between the 2 of them. It seemed like this was like kind of like they did this a little early, if anything. Like, this was like the first wide receiver signings in free agency. And the Aguilar one, right when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming. I was like, oh my God, my man got paid, dude. I don't think Aguilar's worth that kind of money. Last season was the first good year of his career. It was on low volume, but he was very efficient. Before that, he was known in Philadelphia as he just drops passes. He's not a very good receiver. He was kind of a bust, but last year he kind of proved everyone wrong. He had a really good year, so if he can build on that and if Cam can kind of get it together, or if they do draft a quarterback, he could have some value. I mean, in a lot of the mocks I've done, and I know I shouldn't be doing mocks, man. It's way too early, and I'm just a sick fuck, man, and I can't get enough of this shit. And it's all year round for me, dude. So he's there in the end. I mean, in deeper leagues as well, obviously 14-team leagues, dynasty, whatever. He's a good asset to at least check out, hold on to, see what happens. But then Kendrick Bourne as well. Another guy that's never really got a fair shake. Never really got much of an opportunity. And we'll see here, he should be, as of right now, the number 2. I think Jacoby Myers will overtake at least one of these guys. Because Cam did show, especially if it's Cam, because Cam did show a propensity to want to throw to him. They developed a pretty good, some chemistry last season, some sort of relationship. So I do think he'll have a role as well. But Kendrick Bourne should at least have an opportunity here. And then last but not least, they re-signed James White. I was expecting James White to end up on the Bucks or something like that, but he's sticking it out with the Pats, man. Good for him. The guy's been there forever, and he wants to keep going with Belichick, whatever, man. I mean, Cam wasn't really throwing to the running backs much last year. James White also wasn't healthy much last year. I don't think James White has a lot of fantasy value at this point. We'll see what happens in the draft again. I mean, if you add a rookie quarterback, maybe James White has more value because then, they need that safety valve a little more. Cam's not the type to really throw to the running backs much. So as of right now, I'm not huge on James White, but that could change come the draft. Then the Saints, oh my God, man. Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. So first, I think it was Jameis. They signed him to a $10 million deal or whatever. And, he's going to be the starter, da-da-da. I like that for Jameis, obviously. And for, not really for fantasy for Jameis. I wouldn't really be drafting Jameis outside of, super flex 2 QB leagues. But for Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, I like this, man, because Jameis is a gunslinger, and Jameis will throw to Kamara more, at least, than Taysom Hill would. But then on that note of Taysom Hill, out of nowhere, they signed Taysom Hill to this ridiculous contract. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's all this money, but all this money is voidable and this and that. It didn't make much sense, but now we're going to have like some sort of competition or whatever. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I mean, for Michael Thomas, I don't think Taysom Hill's really a problem because on the starts Taysom had last year, he did target Michael Thomas heavily, but Alvin Kamara suffered with Taysom Hill at quarterback because he wasn't really throwing to his running backs at all. So Jameis I like better for Kamara and Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas I'm not so much concerned with Taysom, but Kamara I am. I could also see them actually running a quarterback by committee. If anyone will do it, it's Sean Payton. But we'll see what happens a little closer to the season with that one, but kind of wild to be honest. And then the Giants, they signed John Ross, former first-round pick. Hasn't really done much in his career. Maybe he'll get an opportunity. Probably not. He's probably going to be buried on the depth chart beneath Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and the next guy we're going to talk about, and that's Kenny Gallaudet. Probably the biggest wide receiver free agent signing. I don't know how I feel about this man. I mean, he should be the number one target on the team. It's just we're going to have to see what happens with Daniel Jones, man. If Daniel Jones can step up and he actually has a number one option, so maybe he'll really be able to produce. But if it's more of what we've seen last year, then I don't like this for Gallaudet at all. If it's a little closer to 2 years ago, it could be a lot better. I mean, Gallaudet is a beast. He's kind of a go-up-and-get-it guy. So we'll see what happens, man. Right now I'm looking at Gallaudet as like a middling, low-end wide receiver 2 with a lot of upside. He could, his ceiling is a middling wide receiver 1, and his floor is the floor. It could be bad, but other than that, they signed Kyle Rudolph as well, which was kind of odd to me because he said he wanted to have a bigger role. I don't know what this means with Evan Engram. I'm not really drafting either of those guys, though. The only cat that I'm looking at as any sort of pass game option is Kenny Gallaudet on the Giants. I mean, obviously I'm looking at Saquon, but other than that, it's really just Gallaudet. But let's move on to the Jets, and they signed Corey Davis. I don't know, man. Corey Davis is another guy, kind of like Aguilar, that was looked at as a bust, that put it together last year. And he made a little name for himself. He went from being a guy that nobody thought had it to having the best season of his career. And, good for him, man. He's going to a place where he could be the alpha. He could be the number one. I think it's going to be a competition with him and Denzel Mims for who will be the number one receiver. Obviously, Darnold's gone now, too. So we're expecting them to draft Zach Wilson. We'll see what actually happens come Thursday. But if Corey Davis establishes himself as the alpha, there's a lot of upside there. I mean, I think this offense is going to be better. They got Robert Saleh, no more Adam Gase. Obviously, they're going to be better without Gase. So we'll see what happens with the draft. If they draft Zach Wilson, and then I think that Corey Davis and Denzel Mims, both those guys are good late-round targets in fantasy football drafts this year. Then they signed Keelan Cole. I've heard that Jamison Crowder could be a cap casualty, and Keelan Cole is a guy that does play in the slot. That has shown a lot of flashes. I feel like every year for the past two years at least, Keelan Cole comes out in the beginning of the season and he goes off like 3 or 4 games, and then he just kind of disappears. So he has shown flashes that he can be very productive. And if they do let go of Jamison Crowder, Keelan Cole's another guy that I'd be targeting late in drafts, especially in deeper leagues. I mean, he should be available, but if Crowder's not there and Keelan Cole takes on that role, but we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously there's no Gase, there's no Darnold, so there's no saying that the slot role is going to be as lucrative as it was for Jamison Crowder, but still a guy that I would look at late. And then they signed the Jets, that is Tevin Coleman. I don't know what's really going on with their running back situation. They drafted P. Ryan last year, LaMichael P. Ryan. Now they added Tevin Coleman. I think this is going to be a running back by committee unless they do something in the draft. They haven't done anything really outside of this in free agency. So I'm not really looking at either of these guys outside of deeper leagues, that being Tevin Coleman or LaMichael P. Ryan. The Eagles signed Joe Flacco. Very cool, man. And then they came out and they said, Jalen Hurts isn't definitely our starter, man. So does that mean Joe Flacco's competing with him? I don't know, man. I don't know. Or are they planning on maybe seeing if somebody falls to them and they're going to draft another quarterback? I doubt it, man. Jalen Hurts was good enough at the end of the year last year. They traded away Wentz. I think this is just a smoke screen, and a very bad one at that. It's a see-through smoke screen, if you ask me. And Jalen Hurts will be the starter. I'm not worried about this. The 49ers haven't really done anything. They lost Tevin Coleman. Let's move on to the Seahawks. The Seahawks signed Gerald Everett, tight end from the Rams. Another guy that has shown flashes. Never really gotten a whole lot of opportunity. The Seahawks have had a history of good tight ends. So he should be competing with Will Dissly, a guy that has a decent amount of upside. I don't see him finishing as a top 5 tight end or even maybe top 10. I mean, he does have the upside to be a middling tight end 1, but a middling tight end 1 is not great either. You want one of those top 5 guys, really. Everyone else is kind of just a crapshoot. But I do think if he gets on the same page as Russell Wilson, he wins that job over Dissly, who hasn't been able to be healthy. Could have some value. Then we had Chris Carson re-sign. Probably the best case scenario for Chris Carson. We know what he is there. They love to run the ball. He proved last year that he can be a weapon in the passing game as well. So, I mean, I like this for Chris Carson. I like this for the Seahawks, man. We'll see what happens. I mean, they have so many weapons. When Pete Carroll says, we're going to run, I'm sure they're going to run the ball. But when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league and you have one of the best wide receiver duos in the league, you're going to throw a lot too. But I do think Chris Carson will get his fair share of work. As of right now, they're saying it's going to be him and Rashad Penny. We'll see how much work Rashad Penny gets, how healthy he can be. But I do see Chris Carson being the lead back here, and I love this for Carson. I love this for fantasy. And then we had Tyler Lockett re-sign. I mean, you kind of saw this coming. Tyler Lockett's been very efficient. I mean, he's very boom-bust for fantasy, but for real football, he's a great player. He's not a guy that I'm targeting in fantasy football at all, to be honest with you. I don't like those boom-bust type of guys. I like consistent production, and I don't care if you're going to win me 2 weeks of the year if you're on my bench because you've sucked for 5 weeks. It's nothing against Tyler Lockett as a player. He's a really good player, just not my type of cat for fantasy. But let's move on to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers re-signed Chris Godwin, they re-signed Gronk, and they re-signed Leonard Fournette. They're just bringing everyone back. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought back Antonio Brown as well. Chris Godwin was injured for a lot of last season. I like Chris Godwin this season a lot, especially where he's being drafted. If he was in that second-round range, third-round range like he was last year, I wouldn't be on the train, but I'm seeing him drop to the fourth round in a lot of mocks right now, and I love that for Chris Godwin, especially PPR. I do have him above Mike Evans in PPR. Half PPR, I'm not really sure. I'm kind of they're going to be neck and neck, but I do like Godwin for full PPR this season, especially at where he's being drafted. And then as for Gronk, kind of one of those situations, like I said, he's like a middling tight end one, like somewhere in that 8 to 12 range, whatever, maybe even outside of there. I'm not looking at him for fantasy, but it's great for Brady. All these moves are great for Brady, that's for sure. And then you have Leonard Fournette. You have Leonard Fournette. You don't just have Leonard Fournette. You have Gio Bernard, too. Oh, my God. I didn't even write this down. This happened so recently. I almost forgot about this. So now the running back room for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Keyshawn Vaughn, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Gio Bernard. You know what that spells to me? Stayaway. And if you need me to tell you what that spells, it's stay away. I'm not touching any of this. I don't want anything to do with it unless someone gets cut. Gio really could get cut. I doubt Ronald Jones gets cut. He was great last year. Leonard Fournette was fantastic in the playoffs, and they just drafted Keyshawn Vaughn. Bruce Arians says, Keyshawn Vaughn's going to have a breakout year. Is Gio Bernard going to have a breakout year too? They said they signed Gio Bernard because of all the drops last year or whatever. I don't know, man. I'm not into this. This isn't for me. This backfield I'm avoiding like the plague as of right now, unless somebody comes in at an extreme value. But let's move on to the Titans. And the Titans signed Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds from the Rams, actually. And he is another guy that hasn't got much opportunity. As of right now, he should slot into that Corey Davis role. So he should have more opportunity than he's ever had in his entire career up to this point. I would expect the Titans to do something in the draft to bring in another wide receiver because as of right now, it's literally just A.J. Brown. They let Jonnu walk. They let Corey Davis walk. So Josh Reynolds could have some sleeper appeal as a late-round pick this season. We'll see what they do in the draft. But as of right now, he's looking like the wide receiver, too, for a good offense. So I like him as a late-round pick. And last but certainly not least, we have the Washington football team. And this is the main event. This is what I wanted to talk about. My boy, Ryan Fitzpatrick, swan song, last opportunity, probably the last year of the career. The dude's been around everywhere. He's traveled the world. He's here. He's with the football team. I love this, man. I really was disappointed last season when they pulled Fitzpatrick as a Dolphins fan for Tua. I do understand it, but Fitzpatrick was winning games. We were looking good. And then that speech he gave, man, it broke my heart, bro. But I love this for Fitzpatrick. I don't know, man. He's a great streaming candidate, and obviously 2QB Superflex League, a guy that you definitely want to look at as a second, third quarterback. He's going to be available late. People aren't going to want to draft Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he just produces for fantasy. He really does. The dude's just a beast. And I love this for Mclaurin, and I love this for the next addition they made, and that was Curtis Samuel. And I love the move for Curtis Samuel. I shouldn't say I love it because it kind of scares me a little bit because Ron Rivera was Curtis Samuel's coach prior to the new coaching staff coming in for Carolina. And the way Ron Rivera used Curtis Samuel wasn't the way he was used last season. But Ron Rivera is not a dumb guy, I don't think. I think that he will see how effective Curtis Samuel was in the role he played last season in Carolina and kind of reflect on that and say, okay, maybe this is how we should use him, because Rivera was using him more as a deep threat. So if he uses him as just like an outside guy and doesn't move him around all over the place, I don't like it as much. But if they use him in the slot and they move him around, they put him in the backfield, they just move him around the formation everywhere, I think that this is an upgrade for Curtis Samuel over Teddy Bridgewater. I think it's an upgrade, an opportunity. He should be the number 2 on this team behind Terry McLaurin, whereas with the Panthers, he was arguably the number 3 behind, well, he was definitely the number 3 behind DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. So I think this is an opportunity for Curtis Samuel to shine. I really love Curtis Samuel, especially where he's being drafted now. He's one of those last guys you can get before wide receiver really dries up. So I love this for him, especially if they use him correctly and they use him in a role where he can flourish and do like kind of what he did last year. And having Fitzpatrick throwing him the ball, that's great as well. And I quickly do want to mention Terry McLaurin too. I love Fitzpatrick from McLaurin, best quarterback he's played with, and McLaurin is going to eat this year. I have him right now as a back-end wide receiver 1. I love this. I love this for Fitzpatrick. I love this for Curtis Samuel. I love this for Terry McLaurin. I love this for actual football. This team is going to be wicked fun to watch, and I think they're going to win this division again this year. But with all that out of the way, that's it. That's all there is. And we're going to be doing a lot of content post-draft. I can't wait for the draft this Thursday. I'm sure all y'all are wicked excited too. It's going to be awesome. So I'm going to be coming with some more stuff post that. I got a little research to do, make some improvements to the videos and stuff like that. The next time y'all see me, it's going to be different. I got a lot of stuff already planned, a lot of stuff already made out that I'm going to be bringing out to y'all. So if you're enjoying the content, if you like this video, if you liked any of the past videos, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, tell me what you like, what you didn't like, what you'd like to hear in the future. Share with your friends, your family, your teachers, your grandmother. I don't care who, everybody in the world. Get it out there. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. This is Ace. This is Fantasized Football. I love y'all. Thank you. Peace.